Never explain yourself to anybody or anyone. They don't know you. They don't know who you are, because people think that they know if they've spent a bit of time with you, then they think that they know you. That's probably the biggest mistake. Spending time with somebody doesn't mean that you know them. So if you feel like you need to justify who you are as a person, where you are in your circumstances, and your life experience, then you're going about it the wrong way. Nobody needs to know where you're going, what you're doing. That's a thing that society's built us to believe through having instant access through social media to anybody at any one time. And the way that I think about it, if you think before social media, before the internet, nobody knew what their neighbours were doing. Nobody knew what their friends from school were doing. Nobody knew what their colleagues were doing, their workmates, their family, their friends, because you had to physically go to their house or to their workplace or wherever it was they were to see what they were doing. But now you don't need to do that. You don't need to leave the house and go and see what people are up to. You just go online. And that's the kind of negative, I'd say, of social media, because it means that people now feel entitled to know you. They feel like that you owe them that. It's just that I don't even think it's their fault half the time, because people are conditioned now to have like an addiction to access. It's an addiction to access, to know what everybody's up to all the time, and that's not normal. It's not natural. You're supposed to have a bit of privacy in your life. I heard somebody saying once, privacy is expensive. And it is. It is expensive, because if you see somebody driving a Porsche, that's an expensive car. It's not like they're driving a minibus. And if you go into Louis Vuitton, you'll see maybe a handful of shoes displayed, whereas if you go into your cheaper stores, you'll see lots and lots and lots on display. And what that means is a kind of visual representative for you. What that means is be rare. If you can be anything, be rare, because this throwaway culture is not healthy, and it's not natural. It's even like, if you look back to the human attention span, our average attention span is about 15 minutes, and it might be even less than that now, just with everything, the kind of culture that we're in with social media and instant access to everything. So it might even be less than that. I would say, this is just like personal opinion, I would say being rare is quite rare in itself these days, because everybody's getting brainwashed and conditioned just to be the same as everybody else, and half the time they don't even realise that they're doing it. So I would say, whenever you feel like you have to explain yourself to somebody, just stop maybe even count to 5. And just realise you don't need to explain yourself. It's not necessary. You don't need to justify yourself. You don't even need to try to justify, because that means that you're begging. You're begging to be understood, to be seen, to be known, and that's not who you are, because you and your being are complete and whole, without anybody's praise or celebration or justification. When you came here, you're already complete. There's nothing to add on. You're just already complete. And we do learn to forget that. That's what we learn as we grow up. We learn to forget that, which is why there's so much anxiety and fear and mental illnesses. That's why so many people have got therapists as well. We're trying to undo the bullshit that we learned, basically. That we need to prove that we're worthy. We need to prove that we deserve. We need to try to succeed. We need to justify and explain, and we need to learn to fit in. It's all made up. That is all made up. You're never supposed to fit in. That's number one, because if everybody fit in, the world would stop. The world would go to a standstill if everybody was identically the same. We need variety. That's why they say variety is the spice of life, because we need that. I did used to find myself explaining and justifying, and it wasn't until years later I was like, I found it quite funny, because I went through a kind of dark night of the soul, as they call it. It was quite brief, but when you go through a kind of darkness with your thoughts and you come out the other end, but you've done it on your own, it really shows you your depth more than anything. It shows you your depth, and when you realise the depth that is within you, everything becomes you can laugh at yourself, because when you see the depth in you, you see the power in you, and it means that when you see that power in yourself, you start to kind of laugh at what was kind of upsetting you before. And I think without going through like a kind of dark period, you won't really ever fully realise your depth and power, because that's how it's kind of shown to you, and it's shown to you by the fact that you get through it. Like, if you go through that period on your own, do you know how powerful that is? Do you know how strong you are? You are infinite intelligence, as I like to call it. Or Abraham, my favourite law of attraction teacher, calls it. Your infinite intelligence inside a vehicle we call the body. And that infinite intelligence is the same It's the same source that created the sun, that created the sky, the stars, and that same infinite intelligence created you. And you think you need to explain yourself? Can you see how ridiculous that is? Like, think about that for a minute. The source that created the stars, that created the sky, and the sun, the ocean, created you. Do you know what that means? That means you're pretty badass. That means you are a powerful, powerful being. A powerful individual with infinite potential. You've got depth, substance, and you're basically a creative genius when you realise it at your highest potential. So do not ever sit there and think that you need to explain yourself to anybody, because you don't.